Just kidding. Hey guys, welcome to another day with KJ. It's good to have you guys here. It's good to be back with you guys on another beautiful Sunday. It's a crazy November here, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying every second of it. But it's story time today, and really the story time is going to be kind of a story time / kind of a rant a little bit. Just because I had some things happen to me over the last couple days where I'm just like, are you serious? But yeah, and I just was like, wow, like that happened. That actually happened. But the first one is kind of an interesting story because it was something that happened in front of me. But anyway, I'll just get to it. So, went to Wendy's after work one day. I was looking to get something real quick, real easy because I was hungry and I got off work and I was like, I'm tired, I want to go home, like da-da-da. So I went to the shortest line, like literally found the shortest line I could, went to Wendy's. So pull up in the line and I realized there was a couple more people in the line than I had realized like from the road, and I was like, whatever. Order 3 things. I always literally order like the same 3 things. I get a baked potato, chicken nuggets, and a chocolate frosty. Pretty standard, right? So I order my stuff and then I don't move. So I'm kind of sitting there and I'm like, wow, they must be kind of short staffed, whatever, so be it. So then we start to move, but very slowly. And I kind of turn the corner and I realize that there's a lot more cars than I actually had expected. And I was like, no big deal, like whatever, I've already ordered, I committed, I'm here. So, kid you not, no exaggeration, I sit in this line for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. By the time I got to the front, I was just like, this is unreal. So, give my card to the kid, like literally a kid, and he swipes it, hands it back to me, okay? Now, he doesn't shut the window, and I was like, that is really uncomfortable for me. Like, shut the window, but he doesn't, and so my window's down, his window's down, and I was just kind of like, okay, so this should be quick, like it's fine. But no, so it leaves the window open, I was like, okay, so I kind of just like take out my phone, I'm kind of looking down, like, all right, I'm gonna kill some time. So all of a sudden, I hear yelling, like I hear literally someone yelling from like the kitchen at the person that just rung me up, and I'm like, what? Like, okay. So yelling at each other. They start yelling at each other, like going at it. And I'm just like, guys, the window's still open. Like, oh my gosh. So this goes on for no joke about like 45 seconds. And I was like, okay. So then now the person in the kitchen comes and starts yelling at the person that just rung me out. And he's like, what are you doing? You're messing up orders and what all stuff like that. And what is this? And what is this? And the kid's like, he's like, this person ordered and they left. And like, she just rang up here and da-da-da. And so now I hear the guy go, no, she didn't pay. She paid for the wrong stuff. She didn't pay for her stuff. Da-da-da. And so I'm like, okay, did I just pay for somebody else's food? So now I hear the guy getting mad because now he's like, well, she didn't pay for her food, so she can't get her food. And I'm like, what? Now, hold up a minute. If I just pay for somebody else's food, you can't tell me I can't have my food because I did just pay, right? So now they're yelling back and forth about whether I paid or not and all this stuff, da-da-da-da. Window's still open. So this goes on for about another minute or so. So then a third person comes up and has my food in a bag. And he like walks up to the window and he goes, baked potato and chicken nuggets. And I'm like, yeah. And so he goes to hand it to me, but he like hesitates and he looks because like they're still like yelling at each other, like arguing with each other. So then he's like doesn't give it to me. So he's looking at me, looking at them, looking at me, looking at them. And I'm like, I don't really know what's going on. So then he just sets my food down and like pieces out. And I was like, word. So I'm like, okay, so I now have to wait for them to finish arguing about whether or not I've paid. So at this point, I now take out my card that I use and I pull up my bank statement on my phone because I'm like, you're not about to tell me I didn't just pay because I did. Like, I literally just handed my card and he handed it back. So the guy that had come from the kitchen storms back out and he was just like, I guess he was just done with the conversation. And so the kid that rang me out was kind of like dazed and confused. So he like kind of looks at me and goes, did I give you back your card or like, did you give it back to me? And I was like, you rang me out. I was like, I gave you my card, you swiped it, you gave it back. He goes, oh, okay. So then turns back to the kitchen and yells, I told you she rang, I told you she paid. And I was like, really? Okay. So then he then hands me my food and then shuts the window and walks away. Now, this would have been fine, but you only gave me 2 out of the 3 items that I'd actually ordered. So now I'm sitting here after all of this just went down, and I'm like, I still need my Frosty. So I sit there for about another 20 seconds before he comes back to the window and realizes that I didn't leave. Now, instead of opening the window up and being like, oh, I'm sorry, did I forget something? He literally opens the window back up and goes, what did I forget? And I was like, my Frosty. And he goes, oh. Grabs the Frosty and just like hands it to me and then shuts the window and walks away. And I was like, wow, like this is crazy. Like, did that just happen? Blew my mind. I'm like, what happened to professionalism? Like, Is that gone? Is that like not a thing anymore? Like, okay. So the second thing that happened to me, this was a couple days later. I was at the dollar store, which I absolutely love the dollar store. It's one of my favorite places on the planet. But I had gone twice. The first day I went was totally fine, perfect experience per usual. The second time, not so much. So I go to the dollar store. My brother and I decide we want to get literally something to drink and a snack. So we go in, grab our stuff, and we get in line. And there was only one woman working at the time because it was like the middle of the day. So it was just kind of like, makes sense, right? So there's a lady finishing being wrung out, and then there's a lady in front of me, and then there's me, and that was it. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Like, we can wait. So the lady in front of me is talking to the lady that's trying to get wrung out, like slowing down the process. I'm like, let the lady go, right? Like, come on. So now the lady in front of me, no joke, is buying the entire store. Like, the entire store. Like, her whole cart is filled with everything that the dollar store possibly could offer in her cart. Now, I got a bottle of Gatorade in my hand, a snack in my hand, and our brother has a drink in his hand, right? So, as the person that I am, and I'm not saying that she had to do this, but as the person that I am, I would have recognized that the person behind me, the only person behind me, only has 3 items, and I would realize that I have the entire dollar store. So I would have been like, hey, do you want to go in front of me really quick? Not her. She turns, looks me dead in the eyes, looks at my hand, and then starts putting her stuff on the conveyor belt. So I'm like, cool. So I'm already like a little irritated, but I'm like, you know what? That's fine. Like, not everybody, rolls like that. Not everybody likes to go above and beyond like that. So I was like, whatever. So now I have to watch her put all her stuff on the conveyor belt, and then she starts to get wrung out. So now, instead of letting the lady wring her out, she now tries to tell the lady how to do her job. So, no, can you wring that one first? And that one first. Oh, and that one. And then that one. But, oh, not that one. That one. And I'm like, how high maintenance can you be? Like, not only did you take up the entire store, take up all this time, but now you're going to try to tell this woman how to do her job? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So now I'm still standing here chilling with my 3 items, right? Just like, wow. So now the line starts to grow because it's taking this woman forever, right? Taking her forever. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. So she took so long that like a person who was going to start their shift walked in and like said hello and was able to go to the back and like get ready and like start like getting ready for her shift. So I'm thinking like, all right, they're probably going to ring her out soon. So she gets done with bringing all her stuff and now wants to pay with a check. So she starts writing out her check, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So then she gives woman her check, and the check won't work. So she slides it like 8 times. Check won't work. Sorry, woman, the check don't work. So now I'm like, oh, like not only did you buy up the whole store, now you're trying to use a check and the check don't work. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Now at this point, the line behind me has gotten 2 people long, and they don't have that much stuff either, but I'm like, okay, this is everybody that's in the dollar store now. We're just standing in this line. So finally, the cashier then rings for the other person and like pages for them to come. So I'm like, sweet. So I go to grab my drink and I'm like ready to turn so that I can go get in that line. But I realize that there's a lady and like I guess her daughter and then like another man right behind me. So I'm not gonna like budge in front of these people and then try to get into the other line, right? I'm like, I'm not like that. So I just kind of wait like for the person to come out. I see the person come out. They go to their cash register. I wait for them to get the whole thing all set up. And then the lady behind me looks at me and then like sprints to the available cash register. And I was like, really? Like, I've been standing here way longer than you have, waiting way longer than you have, and you just gonna just look at me and just run. So I was like, okay. So the woman in front of me is on games and the woman behind me is on games. I'm like, all right, I see what kind of trip this is. I see what's happening here. So I'm like, all right. Now, the guy who was behind her, I could tell that he was a little uncomfortable and kind of like felt like that was kind of a little like shady thing to do too. So he kind of was like, right? It like rubbed him the wrong way. So he went ahead and like got in the line, and then I went and got behind them. So I literally went from next in line to last. And I'm like, it's cool, whatever, still not even tripping. I'm just like, whatever, this is one of them situations, right? So now the lady who sprinted over to the other register is kind of giving me the like the half side glance, right? Like, is she mad? Like, is she looking at me? And I'm just standing there just as nice as can be like, yep, you did that, and I hope you feel bad about it, but you still have a wonderful day, right? Because I'm like, I'm gonna kill you with kindness right now. So I could tell that the guy was still uncomfortable by the situation because she's trying to get checked out quick because she knows she just was grimy, and he's like, she shouldn't have done that because you were waiting a lot longer. So he turns back to me and he goes, hey, you can go in front of me. Now, he only had like 2 things as well, and I was like, no, don't worry about it. I was like, you go ahead. And he goes, no, you've been waiting a lot longer than I have. And he was like, you go ahead. And I was like, Thank you. So then I went, got rung up, and then he got rung up, and then walked out of the store. Now, the thing behind it is like, I understand that, like, not everybody's going to be super polite or go above and beyond, but the fact that, like, in one incident, I had literally two people, just be, like, inconsiderate is really what it was, and I was just like, wow, like, what happened to just basic decency and just looking at a situation and knowing when you're clearly right or clearly wrong? So that I was just kind of besides myself. I had two of these back-to-back instances where I was just like, where's the professionalism and where's, like, the decency? So call me crazy, I don't know, but I wanted to tell you guys that, and I had to get that out because I was just like, man, just besides myself. But, you know, the only thing that we can do in that situation is just combat stuff like that with positive activity and positive messages, you know, and just kill people with kindness and just be like, hey, not everybody's going to be respectful and kind and loving and caring, but if I can be that to you, then maybe you'll learn in that experience and then you will take that moving forward. So that's all I got for you today. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening to my story time kind of rant thing. It was a pleasure having you guys here. I'm so glad you made it back. And I will see you guys next Sunday. So have a great week. Take care. Be safe. And love each other, guys. See ya.